Jesus plus nothing. 100% natural, no additives. Andrew Farley is celebrating your freedom in Christ. Call in and ask your questions at 877-655-6755. That's toll free at 877-655-6755. Via satellite from Texas, it's The Grace Message with Dr. Andrew Farley.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Grace Message. So glad you're joining us tonight. That number, 877-655-6755. Right now, we got wide open lines. Plenty of room for you to get in with your question tonight. Maybe you've got a question about a scripture passage. Perhaps you heard something in church recently, or in a Bible study, or chatting with a friend online, or in a coffee shop, and well, you're still not sure about it. You're scratching your head going, I just don't know about that. Well, that's exactly why we're here tonight, live across the United States and Canada for you. So join us right now. Be a part of the conversation, 877-655-6755. And if you're a first-time caller tonight, you got to know we love it. We love to hear from our first-time callers. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're a veteran caller, maybe you've joined us in the past, but it's been a while. Maybe it's been a week, a month, a year. You got something fresh on your heart tonight you want to discuss. Join us right now. We do have 4 open lines, so loads of room. You'll be sure to get in right away. 877-655-6755. Now, it could be a personal issue going on in your life right now, in your marriage, with your kids, in your church. You're looking for that grace perspective. Well, you're welcome to join us for that reason as well. And don't forget that if you're live streaming with us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or any other platform, perhaps our mobile app or website, however you're joining us, remember you too can call in and be a part of the interaction tonight. So I'll give you that number one more time. We're still wide open. 3 minutes in, we're still wide open. So this is your night, 877-655-6755. Well, I want to start out tonight by taking a question from social media. And that is from Dave on Instagram. He says, what does the Bible say about evil versus good? Well, that's an interesting one because actually the first sin involved evil and good. Yes, it wasn't what you thought. If you thought that first sin was just doing something that was openly evil, well, think again. Hit the pause button. It's time to rethink it. Let's go back to the Garden of Eden and find out what that first sin was. What happened? Well, they expected that in the day that they ate of that fruit, they wouldn't die, but instead they would know good and evil. They would be able to do a whole lot of good and avoid a whole lot of evil. And so the first sin was actually that they were suckers for the sales pitch of self-improvement. They weren't trying to do something openly evil. They were actually trying to improve themselves. They wondered, is God holding out on me? You know, did he lie to me? Is there more to this life than he's letting on? Maybe God created us, but then he's holding back his best. And so Satan's lie, the deceiver's lie, the serpent's deception was, come on now, maybe you could enhance your experience. You could be more godly, if you know what I mean. You could, in fact, become a better person and be more like God. And with that sales pitch, they were sunk. So remember, that's how the Bible starts out talking about good and evil. God's plan was not for Christians or believers or children of God to crank out goodness. Even those first humans were not intended for that. They were drawing life from God. They were walking with him in the cool of the day. They weren't interested in morality and ethics. They didn't have a measuring stick. They didn't have a book of laws or rules to keep. What they had was life, and they were dependent upon that life. And really, when it came to rules, there was one, and that is don't eat from that tree, because if you eat from that tree, well, let me tell you, something's going to happen. It's going to be separation. It's going to be death. You're going to be looking for life in all the wrong places, and that is precisely what happened to those first two humans. So if you think the Bible is a book about being good, think again. The first sin, the very first sin, was trying to be good. You might say gooder or better or more godly. They were suckers for that sales pitch of self-improvement, thinking that they could get more knowledge and therefore get more morality and then get more godly. So, how can we be victims of that same lie today? Well, by looking at the gospel as just some sort of method to be a good person. Remember, it's all about life. Jesus said, I came to give you life. That was the life that was lost in the Garden of Eden, and it's now restored in Jesus Christ. He didn't come to give us a sin management system. He didn't come to give us a behavior improvement program. He came to give us his very life, the same life that they lost in the Garden of Eden. So, isn't that profound to consider, that the Bible is not just another religious book about being moral and ethical, but instead it's about a miracle life, a life where you possess the very resurrection power of Jesus himself residing inside of you? And that's how your life turns out different from the guy across the street? Because Jesus rose from the dead and lives in you and inspires you. You might say you're enjoying the tree of life instead of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So I hope that helps, my friend. Appreciate your question there, Dave, on Instagram. Of course, you know, once we're saved, we're in Christ, we start bearing fruit. But even that is better than morality and ethics. It's Jesus. Even that is better than law-keeping or rule-keeping. It's the fruit of the Spirit, not the fruit of the law. You want to call it good? We could call it good as long as our definition of good is that Jesus is the root of all good. He is our source and our life and our everything. So reach out to us again anytime, Dave. Great hearing from you. All right, well, let's go now to, let's see, how about Kansas, and we'll talk with Becky. Hey, Becky.
Hi.
Hey, what do you got for us tonight?
Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
Having a little bit of a struggle with my adult son, who's in college. He has a history of childhood trauma, and at times I have probably overcompensated for that and extended an extreme amount of grace, maybe even to his detriment. This past week, some boundaries were crossed, a lot of name calling and things when he came over to the house, and maybe even a few threats were made, and just some real about like ruining reputations and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so I under the advisement of a Christian counselor, who I've been seeing for several years, has always told me you need to draw boundaries. So I drew boundaries in love, and I said, look, these things are not welcome in this home. And so he has not been there for a week, but is wanting to come this weekend to use my house for, he has a car detailing business, and he wants to come and use my space for that. And I'm really struggling with maintaining boundaries in a loving way and not knowing, of course I want to extend forgiveness and grace. At the same time, I'm very tired of the behaviors.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, Becky, here's what I think you need to do. It's very early on in this setting of boundaries, and I don't know all the boundaries that you set, but it sounds like you're still toying with the possibility of him coming over and setting up shop this weekend. And so that means you haven't set a hard and fast rule or boundary of, hey, you can never come on this property. So it hasn't gone that far. But you have said, hey, we don't want any of this and any of this or any of this happening on our property. So I think, you're welcome to extend grace this weekend if you'd like to, but I would advise you that if that's what you choose to do in the midst of your freedom in Christ, you can certainly extend that grace to him and give him another shot. But I would have the conversation once again before you give the permission. And in fact, I think it probably is something you might want to jot down on a piece of paper. Say, here's the 3 areas that have really been challenging. It's been hurtful. It's been painful. We're concerned that you have no respect for us. This is the way you've been talking. This is the way that you've been verbally abusive to us. And we love you. We love you so much. I mean, we raised you. We invested in you. We molded you and shaped you and spent our lives with you and took care of you in every way. Obviously, we love you to death, but you're hurting us deeply. And so, you could come at this, of course, angry. You could come at this defensive and angry and strong, but you could also come from a place of weakness and just be a hurt person and share with him that he is hurting you, and here's how he's hurting you, and this is what it's making you feel, and you're starting to feel unsafe, and that you've sought the counsel of a Christian counselor because of that, and that we're on the cusp of really an important crossroads in our relationship. So I think he needs to feel the weight of it, and I also think he needs to have a very clear reminder of what was said, why it was hurtful, the impact it had, and what you're concerned about going forward. So you don't just want to flippantly say, well, forget about everything I said before. Yeah, come on over. Because that will, again, set a precedent for you just sort of being walked all over and abused in every way. I think for the purpose of a healthy relationship, if you're going to decide that this is the weekend where you allow him to come over, he's going to be outside most of the time, washing the cars, detailing the cars. He's going to get thirsty and come in for a drink or whatever. But this may be, it could be his way of trying to say, hey, I'm sorry for what I said. I'm sorry for what I did. And if he gets within proximity of you, you may find that that's on his heart. I'm not saying it is. Obviously, you want to be vigilant. You want to be careful. You want to be loving, but set those boundaries. So if you allow him to do this weekend, just be upfront with what's happened and what your concerns are before you even agree to it. And by doing so, you have very clear communication. And if he then crosses that line again and takes a stab at you and starts with the abusive speech again and all of that, then okay, I have doubled down on this. I have laid it before him. I've shown him our pain. I've shown him why this is not healthy. I even wrote it on paper, and we agreed that this can't happen anymore. And then lo and behold, boom, he did it again. He's an adult. He's responsible for his choices. So if you decide to lay out the fleece this weekend, if you decide to give him another chance, if you decide to test the waters, just be very clear up front about here's how you're crossing the line. If you cross the line, oh man, then you've demonstrated no sensitivity, no concern, no remorse, no regret. And so we'll have to go back to just less and less contact until things are healthier. So lay it out there if you decide to be gracious this weekend, but you're under no obligation. If you want to wait a week, a month, if you want to wait for a future opportunity, you can do that. You're free in Christ. So let God's Spirit guide you. Live from your new heart where Jesus lives, and he's gonna inspire you one way or the other, but he's also going to give you the wisdom to deal with it in the moment in a healthy way. So, Becky, I hope that helps. We love hearing from you there in Kansas, and reach out to us again anytime. All right, well, let's go now to, let's see, how about Texas? And we'll talk with Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
Hey,
What do you got for us today?
hey, Dr. Farley. Yes, I've been listening to you for several years now, and I've bought most of your books. And and when I go to study, this stuff, that I go in my Bible and look at it, and I bought this inductive Bible, everything you mentioned having.
Yeah.
And I also went to the BibleCommentary.org, and you had a few books in there, like the Hebrews and the Romans. And people ask me all the time, what should I read first? Because I'm trying to, I tell Christians about Jesus and His grace, and so I've copied all of these. I've copied all the letters that you wrote for this commentary on Hebrews and Romans. But I go back to them all the time, and I look at them, and it's very, very instructive. And I wonder what the chances are of getting you to write like a New Testament commentary, where it would be super easy for us to go back, and I would buy multiple copies of it for like Bible studies and stuff like that. And I just wonder what the chances are of you
Yes. Well, certainly that's something that we've thought about. Our team has thought about that many times. Right now, we're giving away for free, not selling a book, but giving away for free this BibleCommentary.org content, and we will continue to improve it. So what you're talking about, a New Testament commentary from Matthew to Revelation, you're talking 10,000, 20,000 hours of work, and certainly that's my dream, that when I'm 80 years old, I can look back and say that we've compiled from the preaching and teaching and radio and all the exposition on various websites and tools that we have, that we've compiled a series of volumes. But right now we're giving away that content in its current form at BibleCommentary.org. But yeah, my goodness, we got BibleQuestions.com. I wonder if you've played around with that, Jeff. You can certainly use our website, BibleQuestions.com, and say, hey, give me a synopsis of Hebrews chapter 4. And guess what? 30 seconds later, you've got a synopsis of Hebrews chapter 4. So some people think they can only ask a one-liner question and get a short paragraph. Well, that's not the case. You can prepare your entire Bible study using BibleQuestions.com. You can say, write me a summary of Matthew 6. You can say, hey, I'd like to have 3 paragraphs on, whatever you want, the Emperor Nero and possible, influences on the church and persecution 2,000 years ago by Rome. You can ask anything you want at BibleQuestions.com, and you will instantly have some content to help you. We've spent about a year programming that. So I would say don't neglect that. Remember, it's more than just a single short question. You can actually give it a project, and it will write an essay for you, or it will write a book chapter for you, or it will write a summary of a Bible passage for you. So consider that. We've got our BibleQuestions.com. We've got our BibleCommentary.org. And then we've got thousands of hours of free resources at AndrewFarley.org. But yes, sir, Jeff, when I'm 80, 85 years old, I hope to be finished with a volume of New Testament commentaries. But I just can't seem to find the 10,000 hours to spare right now. We are busy reaching the world with the grace message. And in fact, this month and in the months to come, we're going to be sharing even more about how we're reaching people in China, in the Middle East, in India, using languages like Mandarin and Hindi, Swahili in Africa, Spanish in South America. So our goal is to serve the world and, in fact, reach everyone with the message of God's love and grace and forgiveness. But believe you me, we're on the same page, and we're cranking out content as fast as we can in the years to come, and I'm having a blast doing it. So thanks for your encouragement, and go a little deeper with BibleQuestions.com. I think you'll be surprised what it can produce for you. All right, well, let's go now to, let's see, how about Las Vegas? And we'll talk with Jasmine. Hey, Jasmine.
Hi, I'm so glad you're there. Thank you for being there.
Yes, yes.
I have a question. I've been listening to you for about 14, 15 years.
Wow.
So my life is amazingly, really, I've been through some things with God that he's just, because of the foundations that I got about grace, I just saw God, and I was able to experience him in some amazing, wonderful ways, even through various amazing bad trials. So I just want to say that it's for the small, like the small stuff and the big stuff. It's just made the difference, a huge difference. So
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, this month I started a group, and it's local here. We meet in coffee shops. We had the first one last week. I called it like Coffee and Jesus, because I just didn't want it to be about self-improvement, behavior improvement, applying anything. Just let's experience Jesus together. And I was surprised. A lot of people came, and a lot of people signed up. And it's like incredible. Like they came really hungry just to know about Jesus, and a lot of them had was disenfranchised from church, from toxic messages, people on the brink of atheism, new believers, and a few that actually know about you. So that was like a yay, because other people are just so interested to hear about how, the grace message. So, of course, they're writing down your name, and I'm so glad. So here's my thing. I would want to get a little guidance from you about how to approach this to stop it from becoming because what happens is people show up that say, how do we apply this and get into do service for God from this? And I wanted to keep it in the experiencing Jesus and let the service flow from that. And I kind of communicated that, but how do we stay on message? Just getting to know Jesus better, because it seems like that's such a tiny portion of what you hear in church. I said to him, I'm like, well, you can get the rest in church. You can get that service part in church. But here we want to just experience Jesus. And most of them love that. So I was just curious about that.
Yeah. Well, that's real wisdom. I mean, I can tell that you've been hanging out with us for a decade and a half to even have that question. So for folks that are kind of newer to us, I mean, what Jasmine is saying is, you're 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 weeks into a study of the grace and love and forgiveness of Jesus Christ, and then people say, okay, but now what? And you just want to say, what do you mean now what? And they say, well, now what? Like, how do I apply it? And the answer is, well, he's your life. What are you talking about? You apply it as you're raising your kids and driving them to school and going to work and mopping the kitchen floor and watching TV and going to a ball game. I mean, he's your life. Like, we're teaching you that you're in union with Jesus 24/7. And they say, yeah, well, I just, I need a service project. And you just want to say, service project. Can we go back to the early church before they had building campaigns and accountability groups and service projects and charities and all of that? And can we just say, all right, how did they function? I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of that, okay? But my point is, they functioned with Christ as their life, and they knew that Jesus had come to give them life. So the life is that we get to display love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and gentleness and self-control. It's Jesus's character through us. So the goal is not to get into a service project. The goal is to know and enjoy and display Jesus. The goal is not to sign up for 3 groups and go to 5 services and be busy with stuff. The goal is to know the love and grace of God and allow Him to inspire you. So I would just say, look, you've got a fantastic Bible study discussion group. Stay focused. That'll be your choice. That'll be your honor and privilege to keep the focus on Jesus. And we've got all kinds of material. I think about our 7-week experience at the back of Relaxing with God. That's a beautiful way to introduce people to the new covenant. But the leader, and that is you, you're going to determine the atmosphere and the focus and the goal. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. That leader is you.
For more information on the broadcast ministry of Dr. Andrew Farley, please visit andrewfarley.org. That's andrewfarley.org. Join us next time as we invite you to celebrate the grace message with Dr. Andrew Farley. This program is sponsored by your generous financial support.